Okay, so, all right, if I give you something, we're going to do this first. Before I put anything on the board here, okay, we're going to do a little guessing game here, all right? A little guessing game. I'm thinking of two numbers, okay? This is and everybody knows the answer to this. If you even put in a little bit of thought, you all know the answer to this, okay, as long as you pay attention, okay? I'm thinking of two numbers, and I want you to see if you can guess them, but I'm going to give you one more clue, okay? One more clue. That if you multiply the two numbers together that I have in my head, you get an answer of 0. Okay?
Oh,
so what?
It would be anything in 0.
Yeah, then one of the numbers has to be 0, right? One of them has to be 0, okay?
It could be anything.
Huh? Yeah, I'm not saying you have to guess both of them, but what you know is one of them's got to be 0. Okay? 0 times any number. Now, I'm not asking for both of them. You don't know both of them, okay? All I'm saying is that you need to know at least one of them has to be 0. What if I had 5 numbers? And I tell you the answer is 0 when you times them. At least one of them's got to be 0. That's a huge concept that you need to understand for this section today, okay? So, just watch. Just watch on this, okay? And I would watch and I would jot down a few examples in a few minutes, okay? Seriously, what I would do is I would just watch for a minute. Then I'll put like 3 examples on the board, and then I really think if you wrote them down, it'll help you out immensely. If I give you this right here, x plus 4, x minus 3 equals 0. This is going to have 2 solutions. 2 solutions, okay? We're taking this times this and getting 0. You're getting 0. So either this is 0 or this is 0, okay? So what I want to know is, what could I replace x with to make that turn into 0? What number can I plug in right here to make this thing turn? Negative 4. What's negative 4 plus 4? 0. What's 0 times garbage?
Garbage. Trash. Oh, wait. 0.
0. 0 times anything, 0. How about over here? What could I plug in for x to make this turn into 0?
Plus 3.
Positive 3. Because 3 minus 3 is 0. What's 0 times junk?
0.
0. Now, that only works for 0. If I told you this, what if I'm thinking of 2 numbers and they times together and get 12? What could you say about those numbers?
3, 4.
You sure it's 3 and 4? How do you know it's not 2 and 6?
What can it be?
Could it be 1 and 12?
Yeah.
Could it be a half times 24?
Yes.
You know how many ways you can multiply and get 12?
Infinite.
An infinite number of ways. You know what you know about those 2 numbers? Nothing. You don't know anything about them, okay? But if it times together and gets 0, you get 0 as one of them as an answer, okay? Now, in one word, could somebody explain to me how, just by looking at this, how do I get my solutions of negative 4 and positive 3? I'm looking for one word. What?
The opposite of
The opposite. You can't tell me this is tough. One word, opposite. So if I gave you this right here, x plus 7, x plus 10 equals 0. What are my solutions?
-7 and -10.
How'd you do that?
Opposite.
Opposite. That's it. That's it for that, okay? That's for that type, okay? Now, they're going to get a little tougher. Now, what if I gave you this? This is where it's a little trickier. Okay? This part students have no problem with, okay? What makes 0 there?
Minus 9.
-9. Now, here's where you got to be careful, because -9 plus 9 is 0. That's good. Students will look right here and they'll say, well, -5. He said take the opposite. That's a 5, so you put -5. No, 5 times -5 is not 0. 5 times what gives you 0? 0. So the answer is 0 and -9. Let's try one more. How about -3x times x minus 6 equals 0? What makes this turn into 0?
0 and 6.
Well, 6 right here, and then where'd 0 come from? Because -3
Times 0.
times 0 is 0. The answers are 0 and 6. Okay? Now, we got one more type of thing we have to talk about. And as long as you pay attention, it's really not difficult. I mean, right now, have I been shown my work on these?
No. Well,
There's a reason. No, I haven't. Why?
Because you don't have to.
You don't have to. You should be able to do these. Again, you've already said it 2 or 3 times. How do you get these so far? Do the opposite. Okay, if I ask you the opposite of 12, you don't need to do any calculating there. It's -12. This isn't difficult, okay? Now, here's where it looks like it's a little more difficult. It's not. Just watch. Just watch on this one. If you watch really one problem, I think you'll have this one down. If you watch carefully. if I give you this right here, 3x plus 7 times 4x minus 11 equals 0. This one looks like it's a tough one. It's not. This is the way I do not want you doing it. I don't want you doing it this way, okay? I want you to be able to do this one in your head. And in a minute, somebody's going to say, I got it. It's just this, okay? Here's the long way that I don't want you to do it. This times this is 0. So either this is 0 or this is 0. I'm going to write this out. Don't write this out. 3x plus 7 equals 0, or 4x minus 11 equals 0. To solve this, we minus 7, 0 minus 7, then divide by 3. So negative 7 thirds. To solve this, we add 11, and then divide by 4. 11 divided by 4 is 11 fourths. So which is it, negative 7 thirds or positive 11 fourths?
Negative 7.
It's both. You need both answers. Okay? Now, don't say anything other than yes or no. Okay? Look at the problem. Look at the answers. All I want to know is, does anybody think they know how to do it in their head? And don't tell me how you do it. Just tell me if you think you know how to do it in your head. If not, I'm going to do another problem.
Can you wait a second so I can copy that down?
Just watch this one. I'll leave these up here, okay?
I
I could care less. Right now, I'm gonna do an example or two here in a minute. I would just watch. And I'll do about 3 examples at the end I want you to write down. I don't want you spending a lot of time writing it down and you got it written down but you don't know what we're doing. Okay, if I give you this right here. 9. The answers to this, and hopefully you guys will start seeing the shortcut. You can do it entirely in your head. The answers to this, I'm not gonna show my work, are negative 9 fifths, positive 15 halves.
Oh, you just.
Shh. Do you think you got it? I'll test you on it. If I give you 11x minus 3, 4x plus 5, just tell me the answers.
The first one would be negative 3 over 11.
No, look up here again.
Uh,
You're close.
Wait, it would be positive 3 over 11.
And?
And the other would be
And?
negative 5 over.
Say it again.
The other would be negative 5 over 4.
He's not going to tell him how he did it. He's got it though. You do it on paper or you do it in your head? I don't want you doing it on paper. You shouldn't have to have paper.
That's
Okay?
easy.
Anybody else think they got it?
Yeah, I know.
Look at the problem. Look at the solution. You got it, Alana? Tell you what. 5x minus 17 times 6x plus 5 equals 0. What are the answers?
It's like positive 17 over negative 5. Wait,
No.
Over 5.
Okay.
Over 5. And then,
Negative 5 over 6.
yeah, negative 5.
Melania, tell us how we're doing it. Where'd 17 come from?
You're on the opposite of the top and then the other goes underneath.
Then divide by that. Opposite of this over that. Opposite of this over this. Opposite of 5 is negative 5 over 6. Opposite over this. And we could have done this back here. What's the opposite of 9? Negative 9 over what number?
1.
And what's negative 9 over 1?
1.
Negative 9. Okay? That's all we're doing.
That's
Okay?
easy.
So here's what I would like you to jot down. I'm not going to make you do it. I don't want you showing your work on these. I really don't. Nor do I want to see your work. You shouldn't have to. Okay? If you could do these like 3 or 4 examples, you'll be able to get through most of the assignment. Most of it. Not all of it. There's something at the end that we have to do that we haven't talked about yet. Jot this down. These 3, I think 3 examples. Write down those 3 examples, go and write them down, and then write the answers. Go and try it.
Oh, okay.
If you could do these 3 problems, you get through most of the assignment.
I can't do the middle one. It's this.
And again, I'm going to give you the answers in a minute. Don't just wait for the answers, okay? Try it on your own. So how many questions are we going to get through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. All but what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're going to try to get through. I'm going to do 7 questions with you guys. You guys can do 7 questions on your own, and we're going to finish this up tomorrow. So, somebody tell me what the answer to the first one. Yes, sir.
So it is 1. No, it's negative 3 over 1.
Which is just what?
Negative
It
3.
was negative 3.
That's
And
just
then it
5.
would be 5 over 1, which would just be 5.
Or, even, he's not doing it wrong, but in one word, what's a simpler way of doing that?
Negative
Just
3
the
over
opposites. Just take the opposites, okay? The thing that we showed, that little shortcut, is when you have numbers in front that aren't 1, okay? This one right here, what are the answers to this one? What makes this
that,
0?
That tricked me for a second.
Oh, you already answered this one. What makes this 0?
Positive 9.
Positive 9
And then 0.
and 0. 4 times 0. Okay? And what are the answers to this last one?
Negative 3 over 2.
And
5 over 5.
Easy.
if you can do those 3, you get to more than half the assignment. What's up?
So is the middle one, like the numbers on the outside of the parentheses, always going to be 0?
Well, if it's timesing, if I'm timesing a number by something and getting 0, it has to be 0. Yes.
Oh, all right.
Okay?
It's
Yep.
the same concept, but it's divided.
Say it again.
It's the same concept, but think of it as divided.
What do you mean by dividing? I'm not sure what you're.
Instead of being negative 4 times x would be negative 4 divided by x. That thing.
Kind of, yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay, so let's knock out some of these problems. Okay, these are actual problems on the assignment here. So, question number 3. I wouldn't even write the problem down if I was you. Now, if you're sitting there going, okay, I'll just write the answers down. If you haven't been paying attention to this, I mean,
You don't
I'm
really
sorry,
need
you
to.
can't. We're doing some tough stuff in this class this year. This ain't it. I mean, Melania said it 3 or 4 times. How do we do this in one word? Opposite, right here, opposite over that number. That ain't rocket science, guys, okay? I wouldn't even write the problem down. I'll write it down. X plus 7 is 0. This one actually, some students struggle with. It's so easy they struggle with it. They have no problem with this. What makes that 0? And what makes X 0?
0.
0.
Oh, 0.
0 makes X 0. Think about this. On your exam, you're going to get a certain percent. Who knows exactly what the percent's going to be? Nobody does right now, okay? You might think you're going to do good or bad, but you don't know. So we say I have X percent. There's only one way you get a 0%, and that's if I replace X with what?
0.
0. Okay, the only thing that makes X 0 is 0. So the answers are 0, it's negative 7. Next problem, 5. Okay, number 5. 12t, t minus 5. 12t, t minus 5 equals 0. What are the answers here?
0.
And?
And
5.
Negative 5. 0, 5.
5 over 1. Or whatever.
Number 7. We have what? X minus 9, or they're S's. I'm going to make them X's. X minus 9, X minus 1. What are the answers?
9 and 1.
9 and 1. You showing your work? Why?
Because
You don't need to. You shouldn't have to show your work on these.
I think this is the easiest one of this section.
It's going to get tougher at the end, but yeah.
It's way tougher.
Number 9.
Go on ahead.
2a minus, now this one right here is a little bit trickier. 2a minus 6 times 3a plus 15 is 0. It's a little bit, you got to do a little bit of elementary school math. Literally elementary school, like 3rd or 4th grade math.
It would be 6 over 2a. Right?
Not 2a, 6 over,
2.
and
Negative 15 over 3.
now if you type those in, the computer will probably probably mark you wrong, and I would take a point off. Because that does simplify. What is 6 divided by 2? 3. And what's negative 15 divided by 3?
5.
Negative 15.
But negative 5.
You need to simplify it, okay?
It took it as 16.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It shouldn't. I mean, on a written test, I would probably take a point off. I really would. I mean, if you can simplify it, you need to simplify it. That's what math is. Here's something complicated, make it simpler. Number 11. So we have what? 5m plus 4 squared.
Man.
Don't get thrown by this, okay? That squared simply means 5m plus 4 times 5m plus 4. What are the quote-unquote 2 answers here?
Oh my goodness.
It's
It's the same thing twice.
And what's the other one?
Same one.
Do you need to write it twice?
No.
problem, no.
It only has
Not
Right,
on-
and they only give you one block anyhow. So it's just negative 4/5. That square doesn't do anything to it. Don't worry about that. Okay, 12. Then we go to number 15. Question number 15. Okay. Number 15. Something we haven't talked about. We got to talk about right here. Z plus 2. And what? Z minus 1. Equals 0. Most of these problems had two solutions, okay? Any idea how many solutions this one has?
It has three.
3. And don't say because the boxes have 3 boxes.
There's the Z on the outside, Z in the first parenthesis, and Z's.
So there's how many Z's? 3. You count the number of times you see it, that's the number of answers there's going to be, okay? So my answers are going to be what, and what. This one is positive 1. This one is negative 2. And what makes Z 0? 0. 0 makes. Now, I think they ask you, be careful on this. You might want to make a note to yourself on number 15 is the first one like this. It says, list the solutions from least to greatest.
Oh, heck
So what's
no.
the smallest number here?
Negative.
Then,
Zero and then.
so are these right? But if you put them like this in the computer, it's going to say you're wrong.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It sort of pertains to math.
Mhm.
So is absolute 0, like the temperature absolute 0, is that colder or warmer than like negative 2 degrees?
Absolute 0 is it's even theoretical that it can't even. It's the temperature they believe that the absolute coldest temperature can exist. Because what happens when it hits absolute 0, matter crumbles down and ceases to exist. And that's why you can't approach it, because if it ever got to absolute 0, everything would crumble down into nothing. Okay?
If there was absolute 0, then
Absolute 0 is like, I think it's negative 273 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius. I don't know.
I think it's Celsius.
Does that exist?
Well, theoretically it does. They couldn't do
Is
it.
it-
If we put something absolute 0 right in here, we'd all disintegrate, and the whole
Yeah.
world would disintegrate, and then the whole everything.
Zero
There
is
was-
something.
Then there's no way you can make absolute
Right.
0
It's-
because there's no matter to make absolute 0.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
It's kind of like this. Forget about that. Just temperature in general. It's impossible to get a perfect temperature of something. It's impossible. You know why? Everything gives off heat. Everything does. Just the amounts of heat that it gives off. So if I want to measure the temperature of this room, I couldn't do that of just the room. Why? Because what if everybody got out of here? And what if all the desks were removed?
No, because
There's
it's
still,
still,
yeah, it's
There's always something in there. You know what's in there?
air.
Even the air. Let's say we suck out the air. There's still something in there.
Kids.
like,
Glass,
you.
Close.
ice,
I'm holding on to something.
The marker.
Light.
Thermometer.
The
thermometer's in there. You can't do it. The thermometer's in there measuring it. So you can't have that. It's going to give a little bit of heat, just a little bit. Yeah, you can never measure something perfectly because everything gives off heat.
well, maybe you can. Maybe even if just the thermometer was in here, because you could subtract how much heat the
Yeah.
How are we going to
thermometer is
measure what the
giving
thermometer's
off.
heat's giving off though?
And
By
then
using a different
subtract
thermometer.
it. Yeah, but you can still
And then you
subtract
could
that.
just-
But then whatever you use to measure the temperature of the thermometer is giving off heat also.
Then I guess we're subtracting a lot today.
Forever, literally. And you never get done.
Or you could just use 2 thermometers measuring, one would be measuring how much the
That's
first
still
would be.
And then you got 2 thermometers giving off heat. That's even more
Yeah.
heat. Okay,
But then you would
17.
subtract the amount the first
One
would
more
be.
question, number 17.
It was the exact same
Last one we're going to do together today. 17. So we have r minus 4 squared times what? R plus 8 equals 0. So what are my answers?
Negative 4 and negative.
Now I want to make sure you guys understand. This little trick only works. It only works when it equals
0.
0. If it didn't equal 0, it doesn't work. It has to equal 0, okay? All right. What I'd really like you guys to do is fill in the ones that we did, and then also you should be able to knock out the ones that we skipped over. You should be able to get these done, okay? So I expect you guys to be done up through 18. So we're going to start off on number 25 tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12. We're going to do 6 questions together tomorrow and 6 on your own tomorrow.